Hello? Beep, 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 the usual. How are we, folks? All right? Yeah. Come on, teacher. It's getting so close now. Starts in a week or two. Come on! Buy me a coffee, the usual. It's my birthday in April. Oh, God. But let's forget all that for the moment and let's talk about something that I very rarely talk about, but that I think is worth talking about. And I want to talk to you today about disability. And there's a reason why I want to do that. I was writing year two, so putting together the learning sessions for year two of the Warrior Teacher Programme. One of those sessions is about understanding disability. Certainly looking at things like the social model, but also the historic treatment of the disabled, and looking at their history and what's happened, and also new advances in technology which make my heart sing. You've all seen them, have you? Haven't you? Let's have a look at some.
A lady born deaf could finally hear herself speak after 29 long years.
There you go. It's beeping. So now technically your device is on. Can you tell? Oh, that's exciting. Here, you can put it down for a second. Just get used to the sound. What does it sound like? Oh, want to hear myself cry. Can you hear me?
Look at us. Look this.
Let them adjust.
Hold the balloons.
Oh my god. Leave them on, leave them on. You have to let your eyes adjust.
So once the probes were in place, I was put to sleep with an anesthetic. That was so surgeons could wire up the probes to an impulse generator placed under the skin of my chest. I was then sent home to heal, and after several weeks I returned to have it all turned on. And the result was truly staggering. Here's a video we made that shows the difference of having the device turned on versus when it's turned off. When you get deep brain stimulation, they give you these two things: basic cell phone with the program on it, and this is a data collector. And if I want to turn off my therapy to illustrate what I would look like with full-blown Parkinson's and no relief from it, I would turn my therapy off. And this is going to prompt me to use this to be sure I'm doing what I want done. So place communicator and continue. I'll do that. So this is downloading information from a pack in my chest that is very much like a pacemaker. Very small, and in some cases it has a rechargeable battery. Now I can feel my DBS, my deep brain stimulation therapy, going off, and the reaction is almost immediate in that I begin to shake and sorry. And that's what it's like with the therapy off. So if I didn't have deep brain stimulation, I would have to take drugs to control this. I've been able to minimize my drug intake because of deep brain stimulation, which is good because most of the drugs have some side effects. But as you can see, if I wasn't taking medication and not taking deep brain stimulation, I would have a very hard time even taking a drink of water. And for people who have Parkinson's, it's not really a pleasant way to live. However, we do have deep brain stimulation. In my case, it works pretty well. I'm going to turn it back on. And it's communicating with this device that will now tell the pack to start. And I can feel a tingle in my heel that creeps up my leg as the stimulation starts to take place. So those electrical impulses now are back. They're firing again in my brain as they do night and day, and overriding that impulse I have to shake or tremor. And as you can see, the results are almost instantaneous.
You know, makes me feel better about the world. Makes me tearful. Wonderful things that are going to enable people to do the things that they need to do. However, there is a darkness on the horizon, and I'm absolutely of the opinion that, for God's sake, if we spent 1/10 of what we spend on this trans and gender queer nonsense on understanding how we can help people with disabilities live their lives with dignity and care and also participate more fully in our society, I, for one, would be a happier man. And I'm sure that there are those of you watching who would think exactly the same. Just 1/10. You look at what's been spent on diversity, equity, inclusion, and vast majority has got nothing to do with people with disability, which should be our number one priority. Our number one priority. End of story. Gender, queer, critical race theory, nutters drive me round the bend. It should be the number one priority in terms of ensuring that people have equality of opportunity, particularly those who have a disability. It's an interesting fact that by the time you get to 60, there's about 25% of us that have. You just can't see it. So this is something that's going to affect 1/4 of us by the time we get to 60. And of course, it is myriad in its manifestations, which makes it difficult to pin down. So for example, an individual that has sight problems will need particular care and particular tools to help them work. Same for somebody who is deaf or somebody who is a wheelchair user or whatever it may be, right? So there's a million things to do in this, which makes it difficult. That's why these nutters aren't interested, see? Because it's all about culture and the culture of the queer and the trans and the gendered, as opposed to thinking seriously about how we can help tap into that extraordinary untapped resource that is and are people with disabilities. So I'm going to read you something from Disability Rights UK, who are, they're the leading organisation really in the UK, which is run by and working for disabled people. That's from their site. So I'll put the link to the site in the doobers as well as the link to the tweet I'm about to read you. So here we go. Listen to the end. We don't do disability very often, so don't run off. Where's my coffee? Don't run off. Oh, I've run out. Don't run off, right? Breaking news from Disability Rights UK on the 11th of March 24 at 10:34. The UK government is facing the United Nations for their violation of the rights of disabled people in a week's time. What's happening on March the 18th and how do we get there? A thread. 2016, Disabled People Against Cuts, DPAC, and other DPOs, disabled people's organisations, formally requested the UK government be investigated for their breach of the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, the UNCRPD, which is what's mentioned in our session on disability in year 2 of the course. The UNCRPD found the UK government had grave and systemic violations against disabled people's rights because of austerity measures and welfare reforms, especially changes to housing benefit, eligibility criteria for PIP, which is the personal independence payment, and social care, and the ending of Independent Living Fund, which they took away. After hearing from the various organisations giving evidence on the injustices disabled people in the UK face, the UN called for a UK-wide strategy on disability focusing on urgent enactment of the UNCRPD and Equality Act. In August 2023, UK government was meant to report to the UN on their progress. They refused to attend the UN meeting with no reason provided. No doubt fear of public scrutiny and a further erosion of our rights, not a positive narrative, played a role in this absence. On March the 18th, the date the UK government, after their cancellation in August, postponed to, the government will be facing the UN committee on this date, and we will all be watching closely to ensure they can hide from public scrutiny no longer. Make sure you tune in. Disabilities Right UK will be there and reporting live. Further information can be obtained from the web pages, which I will put down in the links in the doobries. They've also said you can find out more about what's going on. It's extraordinary. It's extraordinary to me. And we need to be talking about this, don't we? You know, for every nutter that turns up thinking of the wrong sex, that's somebody we could be helping who's actually, hasn't got the equality of opportunity that we need to give them. It's about time we refocused our priorities when it comes to equality of opportunity. The settled nature of meritocracy across law, across education, across the NHS, that should be settled. Meritocracy is settled. Race and all that nonsense that come with it is settled. Martin Luther King settled that for us, and he gave us the way forward. This should all be settled. All the rubbish that's being caused by this, all the attacks upon women and gay people, should be settled. And if it was settled, we could perhaps turn our eyes in a Sauron-like way to how we can help people with disabilities. achieve their goals, their aims, their wishes and their dreams, and do so with dignity. This shames us. The whole thing shames us. It's so shameful. It really is.